So, Anne Frank's diary. It's one of those books almost everyone has heard of, right? It's famous all over the world. But how you ever stop to think about how that happened? I mean, how did the private, secret thoughts of a teenage girl become this powerful, enduring voice for all of humanity? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into. Let's explore the incredible story behind the diary.
Okay, first up, an unlikely author. And you know, the really wild part about all of this is that Anne Frank herself, she never, ever expected anyone to read her diary. Seriously, she wasn't writing for us or for history. She was writing for just one person.
Just listen to her own words here. She wrote, "It seems to me that later on neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl." Wow. I mean, just let that sink in. The irony is just staggering, isn't it? She was completely convinced her thoughts were insignificant, that no one would care, and yet here we are decades later, and millions upon millions of people have been moved by those very musings.
All right, next section, the world outside. Because you really can't understand the diary without understanding the world that was literally closing in on her and her family. Her personal story and the massive, terrifying events of history, they're completely intertwined. You just can't separate one from the other.
So let's just quickly put her life into context. She was born in Germany in 1929, but just a few years later, in 1933, her family had to flee to Amsterdam as the Nazis took over. For a while, things were okay, but then the occupation spread and they were trapped. By July of 1942, their only choice was to go into hiding, to just vanish. And tragically, in 1945, she died in a concentration camp. This isn't just a timeline. It's the terrifying backdrop for every single word she put on paper.
And that brings us to this, a friend named Kitty. So picture it, she's stuck inside these hidden rooms, and she starts writing in this diary she got for her 13th birthday. But here's the thing, it was never just a log of what happened each day. For Anne, this little book became something else entirely. Something so much more important.
So why did she feel this deep need to write? I mean, it's a really important question, right? She's literally surrounded by her family. They're all hiding together in this tiny space. So why turn to a book for companionship? Well, the answer gets to the heart of a really deep, profound sense of isolation.
She put it so perfectly with this line, "Paper has more patience than people." Think about that. You can pour your heart out to a piece of paper. It won't interrupt you, it won't judge you, it won't get tired of listening. For her, it was the perfect confidant, especially in a world that was filled with so much noise and danger.
And you know, looking from the outside, you'd think she had it all. She had loving parents, an older sister. She even writes about having about 30 people she considered friends. But on the inside, she felt like she couldn't really talk to any of them. Not about the stuff that truly mattered. There was this disconnect, this deep loneliness, right there in the middle of it all.
She boils it all down to this one simple, heartbreaking sentence. I don't have a friend. That's it. That's the core of it. Surrounded by people, but in her heart, she felt completely and utterly alone. And that feeling is exactly why she started writing.
So what did she do? She decided to invent the friend she was missing. She says it right here. I want the diary to be my friend, and I'm going to call this friend Kitty. And just like that, it wasn't a book anymore. It was Kitty. She wasn't just writing in a diary, she was writing letters to her dearest friend. She completely transformed it from an object into a companion.
All right, new section, the Chatterbox's essays. Because I think it's so important to remember that her diary isn't just about fear and sadness. Oh no, it is bursting with life, with humor, and with this incredibly sharp, witty personality. And there's this one story from her school days that just perfectly captures who she was.
So here's the setup, and it's a total classic classroom story. Anne, well, she loved to talk, a lot. And her maths teacher, a guy named Mr. Keesing, who she called an old fogey, was just constantly getting annoyed by her chattering in class. So after warning her a few times, he starts giving her extra homework as punishment. First, she has to write an essay on a chatterbox. Okay, she does it, but it doesn't work. She keeps talking, so he doubles down. Her next essay is on an incorrigible chatterbox. Still didn't stop her. So finally, he gives her this third essay, and the title is just completely over the top. Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. I mean, at this point, he's just trying to embarrass her, right?
So, the question is, how does a super clever teenager turn the tables?
What do you do when your teacher is basically making fun of you in front of the whole class? Well, if you're Anne Frank, you don't get mad, you get clever. You make sure that in the end, the joke is on him.
Here's what she did. Instead of another boring essay, she decided she would write the final assignment in verse, as a poem. With a little help from her friend, she wrote this story about a mother duck and a father swan. And they had these 3 little baby ducklings who end up getting bitten to death by their own father. And why? Because they quacked too much. The message couldn't be clearer, could it? The joke was now on Mr. Keesing.
And the best part? Mr. Keesing totally got it. He thought it was hilarious. He actually read the poem out loud to her class, and to a bunch of other classes too. And from that day forward, he never gave her a punishment for talking again. In fact, he started making jokes along with her. She completely won him over with her pure wit and creativity. Just an amazing story.
Let's move on to our final section, a voice for millions. Because that clever, funny, insightful girl from the classroom, she's the exact same person who wrote so powerfully about her life in hiding. And after the war was over, her very private words were about to have a very, very public life, one she could have never, ever foreseen.
So, tragically, Anne's father, Otto Frank, was the only one from the secret annex to survive the war. The only one. When he finally made it back to Amsterdam, he was given Anne's diary, which had been saved by a friend. And as he read it, he realized this wasn't just his daughter's journal. He knew, right then and there, that he was holding a unique record, a vital piece of history that the world needed to see.
And boy, was he right. Her diary went on to be translated into dozens and dozens of languages, becoming one of the most widely read books on the entire planet. And what it did was it gave the world this incredibly intimate human window into what it was actually like to live under that constant terror. This wasn't a history book about armies. No, this was about the day-to-day reality of fear, of hope, of boredom, of love, all through the sharp, insightful eyes of a teenager.
And even while trapped in that annex, her diary is just filled with the dreams of a regular teenager. I mean, look at this quote from October 1942. "This is a photo as I would wish myself to look all the time. Then I would maybe have a chance to come to Hollywood." Even as her world was getting smaller and smaller, she was dreaming of something as big and bright as Hollywood. It's just such a powerful, heartbreaking reminder of the vibrant life and all that potential that was stolen. So it really leaves us with this one big question, doesn't it? What is it that makes one teenager's private, secret thoughts a timeless testament for all of humanity? Her diary started as a letter to one imaginary friend, Kitty, but somehow it became a letter to all of us, to the entire world. It just forces you to wonder, how can a story that is so deeply personal also be one of the most universal stories ever told? And I think right there, that's the enduring, incredible power of Anne Frank.